We use RefCom. Yeah, RefCom we use. That's our go-to for F-gas.
Well, you can teach a dog all tricks, but it's more, why should this is how I've always done it. It works. Why should I change? So it's that kind of mindset where it's quite hard to hammer change into people. Whereas if you're teaching people how to do it this way anyway, then that's what they already know from going forward, isn't it? Whereas like 10, 15 years ago, what was F-gas? Like, it wasn't anything to worry about. You could blow R22 off in 500 kilo charge. Doesn't really matter because no one really cares. But like now, the promotion of the safety of F-gas is just going through the roof, which is good, I suppose.
We work very closely with Heathrow Airport, and we do training courses up there for their engineers and everything. And when you go through it and you get, like, you're doing the F-gas and that with them, and you get to the hydrocarbons part and you start talking about that, and they go, but it's not really relevant to us at the airport because we wouldn't have anything like that here because they are so strict on, we can't even use acetylene within thing, it's got to be taken out and we've got to do it somewhere else. But when you go, yeah, but if you go into all your terminal buildings and have a look at all the display cases that they've got in there and all the little concessions in all the shops, like the Coke machines, you'll find all your hydrocarbons already in there. Nah, they wouldn't. Go and have a look. And they go, oh my God, we didn't realise it was. Yeah, that's the thing, it's everywhere. When you look, we're one of the biggest invisible industries in the world. And people just don't realise how big refrigeration, air conditioning is. F-gas from the start has never really been policed properly. There's never been anyone running around prosecuting people and doing, and until that really does happen, people get away with whatever they can, won't they? And that's the bad bit about it. I know a lot of people say, oh yeah, some of the best engineers I know have never been to college and all that. All right, they might be good, they might be brilliant, but maybe going to college might have helped them a little bit. We've got guys who I know now are doing their apprenticeship. They won't go on to level 3. They won't. They will get to the end of their level 2 and they will go back out into industry and they will work. And they will be really good level 2 engineers, fault finding, installing, maintenance, service, everything. They don't want to be level 3. They don't want to have that thing where they're sat there designing systems. They don't need that. They need to fault find, they need to work on systems day to day and see how it is all working.
What we do is we spend time that's why you get a service engineer. You spend time going through the job, making sure, that everything's running correctly. Like, my business partner, Alan, he always stipulates to the guys, why you've got that fridge running, go through and check the controller settings. Because you found a leak on the expansion valve, don't just leak check there, leak check the rest of the system and stuff like that. Give it a clean bill of health before you leave there. Where I think some people will just do what they've got to do and then come away. But we've always sort of, as a business, encouraged our engineers to sort of go that extra mile, so they'll go in depth, make sure the condenser is clean, make sure the condenser fans are okay. Listen, it's easier said than done sometimes. People need a quick fix, and a lot of people have got money. We don't go to places to condemn other people's work and their equipment and stuff like that. As a business, we're a very positive business. We positive. A positive mind creates a positive outcome. So when you go there and you're looking at a unit that's potentially got a leak, you've then got to start, going through that and the basics and checking, your PRV valve, your expansion valve, your solenoid valve, all those sort of bits. Depending on the components that are on that unit, your leak could be anywhere. But with the way the industry is now and the way it's going and the cost of refrigerants and the implications and the laws and stuff like that, you've got to carry things through professionally from the start to the beginning. It's no good getting halfway in and not doing it. So So say for instance, like when we look at a freezer cauldron, if you look at something like that, we'll check everything over. We'll check it for the leaks and stuff like that. And then once we know where we're at, what refrigerant it's on, we'll clearly label what refrigerant's in it, how many kilos it's got, its GWP, what it does. So if you notice in our industry now, a lot of equipment, you have to stipulate with a proper label, and it's got all the details on there of what's, you know, going on. The world's a changing place now. Everything's changing for the better, hopefully. You know, we're looking at the future, aren't we? We're looking at saving energy, we're looking at saving the planet and stuff like that. So with the F-gas, yeah, the F-gas is a great thing, and it's a form of control for people entering the industry. But the thing is, I think the guys have got to understand that there's got to be a level of mandatory training, which a lot of people sort of get misinterpreted. They sort of think because they've got their F-gas, it makes them an engineer. I mean, you know, when you're sort of coming to a site like this and you're carrying out sort of leak testing on machines and stuff like that, you've really got to know what you're looking for. You do learn this when you sort of go on an F-gas training course, but then as an engineer, you've then got to also work out a plan in your head, which is going to get this unit back up and running speedy and quickly. You know, a place like this site here, the impact on the business and the loss of products and stuff like that through losing refrigerant, you know, can have a massive effect. You know, refrigerant's not cheap. You know, there's so many different refrigerants now, and as engineers, you have to carry them. The other problem you've got with refrigerant as well, when you get a vessel from a wholesaler now, everything's recorded and barcoded, so you have to allocate where you're going to use that refrigerant. So, you know, I could come here and use 3 kilos and then essentially be stuck with 7 kilos, you know, on my van. So it can be a costly exercise as well, because you obviously have to pay rent on the cylinders and stuff like this. This is why we sort of stress the fact that clients really need to have a regular maintenance program in place. With regular maintenance, it highlights faults and problems quite quickly. You know, if you look at, you know, it doesn't matter the size of the client, but if you look at sort of like the impacts what their loss of their refrigerant can have, you know, essentially they can lose product in their cold room. So, you know, if you're running a pub and your cellar cooling system fails, you could lose the beer products, obviously resulting in lost sales. If you're a butcher, you know, the cold room, if you lose meat, the price of what we're paying for, you know, meat and stuff like that this day and age, you know, essentially you're going to lose that product, it's going to be waste, and you're going to lose sales. And, you know, somewhere like this, if you look at, I mean, this system holds 300 kilos of refrigerant. 300 kilos of refrigerant is not cheap to go and buy from anywhere. You know, and essentially what you've got to do is you've got to get it here, repair the leak and put it in the system. So if you can prevent that leak through sort of, you know, regular leak testing with, you know, an electronic device like this, having, you know, an electronic leak detection system like we've got here. You know, this system is monitoring all of this and the rooms that it serves. And then if you do get a leak, obviously then you've got your Spectraline kit and your goggles, which, you know, if you look at what the Spectraline can do for you, you know, it puts you in a different place. You know, if you look here, you know, this system has contained the Spectraline since the early days, and then what you do as an engineer, you can sort of check and see if you've had any forms of leaks anywhere on this circuit. If you was doing regular maintenance on a site, you should be carrying out an indirect leak test of the equipment, which a lot of companies are going that way now, but it's for the customers need to work with the companies so they understand the process. You know, I mean, if you look at a customer point of view, they need to be made fully aware of what their impact is. So if they've got several cauldrons at a site, so, you know, if you've got like your walk-in chiller, your walk-in freezer, your blast freezer and stuff like that, what they need to understand is that all of them systems are either on a pack unit or they're individual circuits. It's a very grey area from a customer's perspective. You've got to think it's okay for me to go in and recommend everything and you to recommend the tooling to me and stuff like that, but there's got to be that where there's no dead zone between us and the client. What you often find is the client possibly feels that they're being either conned or being forced to pay unnecessary sort of bills towards sort of like checking for leaks and stuff like that. I mean, most of the clients that we deal with, have got a maintenance program with us. So they'll have a schedule where we go in every 3 months. Yeah, I mean, I think if you look at if you was going to check something, say for instance you went on the government website and you wanted to see check your driving licence and stuff like that, you can see all your information on there, can't you? It asks you for your national insurance number, your date of birth, and you can see all your credentials on there, whether you've been good or bad or whatever, it's on there, that information's on there, isn't it? But if you was to highlight the fact that, it's mandatory requirement for a customer to have their equipment checked, like a boiler at home, these sort of companies, don't they put a plan in place, if you've got, homes, like a home serve thing where your boiler is serviced once a year, and it's good for 5 years and stuff like that. It's how it should be. I mean, the biggest problem you've got at the moment is it's all do or die, isn't it? Like when you go to a walk-in fridge now, if there's a lot of raw material in there, the impact of them losing that product far outweighs what you're there to do. They just want it going. They want it running. They're not, oh, get it going. They need it going because of what they've paid for the raw material. When we explain to our clients, about the sort of implications of refrigerant and stuff like that, they think it's just a bit of gas. That's the ethos behind it. It's only a bit of gas and stuff like that, but it's not like that at all. It's much more than just a bit of gas, like you were saying about earlier on about the training the guys, training them to use leak detection equipment correctly, understanding what to look at, where to use it. When you look at an electronic leak detector, someone needs to be shown how to use it correctly. Make sure it's charged up, make sure you're ready to go when you get there and stuff like that. How are you going to proceed to go forward and get this unit running? Like what's going through your mind? When I look at a job, when I go there, I'm not going there and thinking, we can charge this bloke X, Y, Z. What I'm thinking about is how quickly we can turn it around and get things operating. What's the safest way of doing it? Can we save, what they've got in the walk-in fridge and stuff like that? I'd recommend more regular maintenance visits. What people often diverse from is when they've had a service on their equipment, they think that's it. But it's like a car. If you keep driving it and running it into the ground, eventually it's going to cost you a lot of money, and the impact on your pocket, your business, or whatever you're using that vehicle for, is essentially going to cost you a lot of money, isn't it? It's the same as this. If you don't regularly maintain a refrigeration system and look after it, what's going to happen is, the cost of refrigerant rising every day, and the industry's changing. So a lot of these refrigerants now, there's only drop-in alternatives around. So this machine here is running on R448, R4488.